So I'm sure we all remember Konami's world-famous Yu-Gi-Oh! Card trading game, right? Came out in about 1999, and into the early noughties and subsequently my childhood, this game somehow ended up as my playground livelihood.
It's time to
Konami.
And to this day, I have vivid memories of trading these cards with my schoolmates under the little fire escape stairwell of our primary school, always hearing rumors about Egyptian god cards floating around the school. And you know, there's actually an online Yu-Gi-Oh! Pack opening simulator that I found out about recently, which lets you relive those childhood memories of opening that crisp metallic plastic bag and slowly turning over the cards one by one to see what you got. It really fills the late night air with nostalgia. Anyway, a few years later, such a trend would be replaced with GoGos Crazy Bones. Now, these small plastic figurines brought card trading into the third dimension, and instead of decks, we came to school with small hopsack bags filled with colourful, fascinating little monsters. Now, these things are actually quite expensive, so you'd always find some random knockoff GoGos around the school that would basically ruin the reputation of the owner. But interestingly enough, I never actually knew how to play any of these associated games. 9-year-old me was simply infatuated by the social influence, prestige, and romanticism that these assets carried. Now, of course, I couldn't stay in school forever, so these were the only two trends that really stuck out for me. But I'd be naive to suggest that these trends wouldn't keep popping up and developing over time. However, I never thought they'd go as far as they have. My stepbrother, who I would have expected to be playing Yu-Gi-Oh! At his age, now has his own NFT via his mother's Binance account, confirming that these playground trends have moved into the fourth dimension even further, or perhaps they've regressed into something more sinister, emblematic of the spreading gangrene that is the ironically desocializing world of social media. Indeed, that's the question that we'll be focusing on today. Are NFTs safe for our developing youngsters? I'm Bradley Peak, this is Sumsub, and let's get into it. So as we've briefly discussed in the introduction, NFTs fit a variety of criteria that suit the crazes of younger generations. I mean, they're colourful, unique, tradable, and collectible, with a backdrop of technological cogs and wires enticing a sense of mystery, which really suits the needs and desires of the younger cohort, let's say under the age of 13. However, they're also being hailed as trendy, off-piste, rebellious, and ultimately quick ways of making money, which appeals to the needs and desires of the older group, let's say those within the age group of 13 to 18. And I'm not the only one to notice that NFTs seem to fit the criteria for playground trends. Funko, a company traded on the Nasdaq, which has traditionally made plush and action toys, vinyl figurines, and accessories, made their foray into NFTs last year by acquiring a major ownership stake in TokenWave. Now the company is making their NFTs easily tradable on a variety of different mobile platforms. But what about those kids that are into sports? Those who would have otherwise traded, say, MatchAttax cards in the late noughties? Well, sporting NFTs have also joined the party too, with companies such as NBA Top Shot offering NFTs starting at $1 each. Now, the low prices of some of these NFTs shouldn't be underestimated as a factor for their adoption, right? As they provide a way in for kids who don't even get minimum wage for their summer laboring jobs. And also, moving into the realm of teenagerhood, the fact that these NFTs can be sold at a higher price is an incredibly attractive factor. Instead of rumors about hot cards circulating the school, you're listening to rumors of kids making cold hard cash for simply holding the right token for long enough. Now, in a world where impressing the opposite sex is paramount, buying an NFT may be your fast train ticket to that brand new pair of Gucci trainers and a date with Maria from math class. It's also worth mentioning that kids idolize celebrities and are a great target market for things such as signed posters, right? And merchandise. And is it really such a surprise that everyone under the age of 16 is looking to get their hands on a BAYC NFT with holders such as Justin Bieber, Lil Baby, and Snoop Dogg? But lastly, we shouldn't forget about the psychological aspect here. The American Psychological Association has confirmed that a key side effect of puberty is parental conflict through seeking greater independence. And there's no better way of achieving independence than getting involved with something that your parents aren't able to understand, right?
Yes.
I'm sure they'll forgive you for your D in physics when you've just sold a picture of a shoe for $15,000. Now, a big question here relates to the effect that NFTs are having on future generations, and this is really the focus of today's video. There can be no doubt that a Yu-Gi-Oh! Obsession wouldn't lead a child to a life of crime, but can we say the same for NFTs? Many are quick to point out the benefits, right? By being plunged into a market where you can lose all of your savings through one bad trade or win big through maybe thorough due diligence, kids are taught the value of money early on. When they aren't playing with, say, big sums of money at all, they can learn the relationships between supply and demand, and with terms such as liquidity pools, DeFi, and market maker in their vocabulary, a 15-year-old is well on his way to a degree in economics. But the biggest problem here comes with the bad habits that can be cultivated through an NFT obsession. Studies actually show that increased screen time alone can lead to a lack of social activity and physical activity, leading to inadequate sleep, poor grades, and a greater risk of obesity. Indeed, teens who are on their phones for more than several hours a day are more likely to suffer from mental health issues than those who spend an hour or less per day. No doubt, by sitting inside staring at the price of your NFT as opposed to running around with your mates playing football is going to have a negative effect on all aspects of your psychological development. Another cited benefit here is the added value that's placed on creativity. There are truly fascinating cases of children making real money through their own artistic talent. Take Benjamin Ahmed as an example, a 12-year-old coder who last year made international headlines with the launch of his own 3,350-piece NFT collection, which was named Weird Whales. Now, regardless of the money he made here, which was considerable, this has served as a real piece of inspiration for the younger generation, who are now flooding the world of digital art en masse.
I was posting coding videos on YouTube that very few people watched. So as you can imagine, it's a bit of a shock to be now talking on stage at such a venue.
Indeed, back in 2004, I could never dream of creating my own Yu-Gi-Oh! Card. While now, the sky's the limit as far as kids are concerned, with the foundations being set for a vast number of careers that will really be central to the world of Web3. The words creativity, inspiration, and freedom definitely come to mind here. Notwithstanding the undeniable influx of creative organs afloat, I can't help noting the skepticism in Web3. Even by industry dreadnoughts such as Musk, it seems a bit risky getting hyped up about something that has been time and time again cited as tulip mania. There's already a shortage of teachers, nurses, care workers, and veterinarians in the UK, with over 1.1 million fewer people in the workplace than there would have been if pre-pandemic trends would have continued. Are we sure that we really want more people dropping out of school because they've made a little money on NFTs and they'd like to see where it goes? Well, first of all, it's important to point out here that anyone under the age of 18 can't actually legally trade crypto or even set up a wallet that will hold the NFTs themselves. Of course, exchanges are plagued with similarities to gambling in terms of risk, so of course they're heavily regulated. But much like signing up for Facebook under your mum's email address in 2008 to play Farmville, it's not stopping anyone. However, this can actually be seen as a benefit. Parents will have ultimate control over what their child is buying and will also be able to guide them while teaching them valuable lessons such as portfolio diversification, where the child will learn that it's better to hold on to, say, $100 in the form of a few different assets instead of just one. And this is very similar to what students of GCSE business studies would learn when analyzing something called the Boston Matrix. Now, this is actually a pretty simple model that puts a business's brands, projects, or products into 4 distinct categories. Now, a star is a product, let's say, which has a high relative market share and a high market growth rate. If a child wants to put a star into their portfolio, they might look at getting some ape coin, right? This is a new asset with a high growth potential from the BAYC. Next, we've got cash cows. Now, these have a low rate of growth, but a high market share. A great example of a cash cow in your, say, portfolio could be Ethereum. These are really things that are going to be long-term investment assets. Now we've got the question marks. Now, these are really where you can have some fun. These are your meme coins and just all-round crazy utility tokens. I'd probably put something stupid in here like Pump It, Bogdanov Twins-inspired meme coin with launchpad utility. I don't know. Lastly, we've got the dogs. Now, dogs aren't put into your Boston Matrix on purpose, but things do become dogs over time, and they'll probably sit in your portfolio until they become question marks, right? Or just be removed altogether. Now, we all have these assets. Right now, Curve DAO tokens would probably be good examples. So look, you don't even need to revise this model if you're learning how to diversify a portfolio practically, right? And this means that kids will be able to draw on their practical experience when entering an internship at a hedge fund, for example. But the problems arise when parents take a laissez-faire approach and leave TikTok to dish out the economics advice instead, a platform known for its incredibly inflammatory, scam-filled investment advice targeted at teens with a view counter in mind. Now sure, one could argue that it's good for their kids to learn lessons the hard way and maybe lose a bit of money as per this advice, but, well, we're sure it's a valuable lesson if it comes at the cost of their mental health? An economics AS level is all that is really needed to understand why influencer-led investment advice is largely bogus. So in short, there's no excuse here for lazy parenting, something that really makes up the cohort of parenting, sadly, these days. Now look, much like Yu-Gi-Oh cards, I expect that NFTs are a trend that will come and go. Sure, they will have their place on the blockchain for eternity, just like mediocre rappers have their place on SoundCloud, but I doubt that we'll be seeing assets that are lacking in intrinsic value taking the place of anything other than, say, a luxury good on the economic spectrum, succumbing to all natural economic forces. Much like anyone, it's important that children, with brains as malleable and valuable as gold, shouldn't be sold the investor's dream. It's clear that we're coaxing in the new generation into the workplace with myriad of mental health issues that we ourselves have cultivated, and it's just not fair on them. Now, I'm not saying let's go back to 1999, but for Pete's sake, our kids are not fungible. Well, anyway, my name is Bradley Peake, and for the sake of nostalgia, let me know in the comments what you used to bring to school to trade with your friends back in the day. I'll see you in the next video.